forest near mountains. You are in a dense forest at the base of some snow-capped mountains, wreathed in clouds. The foothills are so beautiful that you yearn to be able to climb them and lie eternally in dew-drenched grass, with an air of inner peace and total tranquility. You realize, however, that this is silly. Around you, some fruit bushes grow between the trunks of the trees. Some of them may have edible berries. To the north, a narrow path. You can see a blueberry here. Examine blueberry. A succulent blueberry that grows out of the bushes. Just by looking at its appearance you can already imagine its sweet taste in your mouth. You start drooling. Take blueberry. Just when you are about to pick the blueberry, a fat rat appears from the bushes and sinks its teeth into your wrist without hesitation. Ouch! It hurts tremendously and deeply. You are now bleeding. Go north. You flee north with long strides. Your legs move so fast that you feel like you can lose your balance and fall at any moment. You feel the adrenaline flowing in your veins. Narrow path. You are stood on a narrow path. There is only one direction to go, as it is surrounded by thick forest and thorn bushes. To the north the path continues, where in the distance you can see a thatched cottage. To the south you see a forest just at the foot of a mountain. You can see a rat here. Go north. Narrow road between lands. You step onto a poorly paved narrow road. To the west the path ends at a majestic cliff, from which you can see a beach. To the northeast the road continues, where in the distance you can see a thatched cottage. To the south the road turns into a narrow path. The rest of the road is surrounded by thorny bushes. It is raining. You can see a rat here. Examine rat. A filthy fat rat with a thirst for blood. It has an aggressive look in its eyes. Maybe it carries some kind of archaic disease. Go northeast. Front garden. You are in what was once a green and flowery garden at the entrance to a small log cottage. Some herbs and flowers grow, with great difficulty, on the now infertile soil. To the north, up a couple of steps and through a porch that has seen better days, is the entrance to the cottage. To the east, the road descends into what appears to be a stream surrounded by rocks and trees. You can see a rat and a wooden door here. Open door. You open the wooden door. Go north. Cottage. You are inside an old cottage. It's a single space, with no rooms, and it's really small, although some would say it's cozy. There are no windows, sunlight enters through the cracks in the wooden planks of the wall. You can see a wooden door here. Close door. You close the wooden door. Lie down. You are now reclining. Sleep. ZZZZZZ. You dream of a lonely pyramid. A shadowy parsnip springs from the ground in front of you and appears to say, I oprastu vue. Simultaneously, your awareness overwhelms you, and you are left feeling mentally vacant. You suddenly wake up. A deadly viper slithers by your feet. The viper hurries across the floor and disappears through a tiny crack between two wooden planks on the wall. Lucky you, the snake didn't realize you were there. You take this as a dire omen. Stand up. You are now standing. Open door. You open the wooden door. Go south. Front garden. To the east, the road descends into what appears to be a stream surrounded by rocks and trees. You can see a wooden door here. Go east. River bank. You are on the bank of a wide stream with a suspiciously tranquil flow. Everything is covered by huge rocks and enormous trees. It is impossible to continue, unless you try to cross the stream by going east. You can see a broken piece of pottery here. Take piece of pottery. Taken. Inventory. You are carrying a broken piece of pottery. Go east. At the same moment your toe touches the icy water that runs through the stream, a childhood memory assails your mind. It is summer, you are about 4 or 5 years old, and you are spending the weekend at your grandparents' house, in the mountains. Playing with your sister in the forest that adjoins your family's land, you discover a rock wall from which a continuous, bright and transparent tear emanates. It is a natural spring. You place your hands as if forming a bowl that, without hesitation, you use to drink a little of the water that flows from the stone. The coolness of the water runs down your throat and an overwhelming chill takes over your entire body. You look at your hands and see a crystalline drop of water slide through your right palm. The drop continues through your ring finger and, just as it is about to drop, everything starts to go black. The drop becomes large, like an unexpected storm, and ripples threateningly. A deep roar vibrates through the ground. You see a river, flowing fast. You suddenly wake up from the illusion. The stream is now a roaring river and the water is almost reaching your chest. You desperately move to the other shore, while the water rises up to your neck. East bank of the river. You are at the east bank of the river. Everything is covered by huge rocks and enormous trees. Go east. It is not possible to go that way, since everything is surrounded by rocks, fallen old trunks and a thick forest. The only way to continue is south, following the river shore. You hear a weak moan of pain southwards. Go south. Rapids. You are on the bank of some dangerous rapids. To the southwest the river continues out of sight, and you can hear a thundering of falling water from that direction. To the east and southeast you can see a pasture. Go southwest. Waterfall. Before you is an awe-inspiring sight. A waterfall plummets over a cliff and explodes in a dazzling crescendo of rainbow color on the menacing rocks below. To the east you can see the entrance of a small cave. You can see a large stick here. Take stick. Taken. Go east. Cave of Stars. From the narrow, unpretentious entrance to this small cave, you are witness to an awesome, brilliant spectacle of natural wonder. The dark, grey walls are studded with innumerable deposits of a strange, red, translucent mineral, which trace eerily across the entire cave, scintillating like 1,000 stars to the dancing light of a perfectly formed touchstone, situated in the center of the room, and dominating the scene with its profound and terrible beauty. Plainly, this stone is an object of immense and ancient power, power which might bestow great magic on some, yet which for many more leads only to the reward of dark and helpless oblivion. You can see a touchstone here. Touch touchstone. A feeling of unbelievable power surges through your body. The piece of pottery in your pocket begins to glow and vibrate frantically, as if it was going to explode at any moment. A phosphoric green line, almost radioactive in color, begins to be drawn over the strange symbols engraved on the ceramic. Little by little you begin to see, on the surface of the ceramic, a word that you finally manage to read aloud. I oprastu vue. That really took it out of you. You feel terribly exhausted, though joyful and optimistic. You feel you can understand the way things go a little bit more. The touchstone has disappeared without leaving any trace. Go west. Waterfall. Go southwest. You can't go that way. Go northwest. The water here is flowing too fast for you to ford the river safely. It has started to rain. Go northeast. Rapids. To the east and southeast you can see a pasture. Go east. Pasture. You are treading over the soft grass of a lush pasture. To the west is a fast-flowing river. To the south, the pasture continues. You can sense a putrid smell coming from the southeast. It might be a swamp. You can see an injured fox here. Examine fox. The fox looks covered in wounds. He is staring at you as if he had something to tell you. Why don't you try asking him about something? Ask fox about dreams. The fox says, dreaming is like dying briefly. It is like visiting the other side. If you are lucky, you may get to bring a jewel back. These jewels often take the form of tiny words. Ancient sayings that once had magical powers, but have now been forgotten. If you dream of any of these secret names, feel lucky, because it means that you have been chosen. If you have ever heard a distant word during the night, make an effort to remember it, for you are now learning to speak the language of angels. It will be useful to you in the future. It will be useful to all of us. Ask fox about words. The fox says, there are words and words. Some words are more intense than others. There are many forgotten names, but there are those who claim to be able to remember them. These names serve, today, as portals between two worlds. Words are sometimes able to make visible the secret link that exists between things. A word is like a flashlight that, if used virtuously, is capable of shedding light on the darkest place. Ask fox about I prastu. The fox says, you should speak to Drizzle, the wizard. Ask fox about Drizzle. The fox says, yes, he is the wisest magician in the region. He lives in a pyramid, northeast of the swamp. Only a few are able to find the entrance to his chamber. Ask fox about pyramid. The fox says, pyramids are enigmatic buildings. They are not always visible. To find the pyramid of Drizzle you must come into contact with the touchstone. It will give you the determination and serenity to see clearly. Ask fox about wounds. The fox says, my wounds are eyes that look beyond reality. They have made me fragile, but eternal. Ask fox about pain. The fox says, I have never felt pain. Ask fox about death. The fox says, death is the last verse of the first poem ever written. Ask fox about spirituality. The fox says, spirituality is part of everything. You can live mystical experiences in any world. Even in this one. Smile. You smile. Go southeast. Treacherous swamp. You are waylaid in a treacherous swamp. Go east. Fuming swamp. You are waylaid in a fuming swamp. All these fumes, you can't really see far through them. You feel as if some living being lived under the mud. Go south. Shady swamp area. You have entered the darkest part of the swamp. The mud is up to your knees. You hear babbling from the south. A gentle warm breeze blows from the east. Go southwest. Depths of the swamp. Among all the smoke, you can only make out some rotten roots and branches on the mud. However, among some, you recognize the face of a human being. It's a corpse. His skin is in a fairly advanced state of putrefaction, so he must have been here for weeks, if not months. However, he follows you with his eyes, and babbles something. Maybe he's not dead after all. You can see a corpse here. Examine corpse. The corpse of a man in his 50s. Although he is dead, he is able to follow your gaze. Perhaps he knows something about the unknown word or drizzle. Ask corpse about him. The corpse says, "My name is Terry Davis, I am programmer, and I have direct communication with God. The Lord told me to build a successor to the Second Temple, but as an operator system. This is why I created Temple OS, the newest temple for Christianity." Ask corpse about Temple OS. The corpse says, Temple OS was designed under the command of God. Many of the system's features, such as its 640x480 resolution and 16-color display, were also explicit instructions from the Lord. It is God's official temple. Just like Solomon's temple, it is a community focal point where offerings are made and God's oracle is consulted. You can talk with God through Temple OS. Ask corpse about God. The corpse says, God told me servicemen competing regarding war. On death, the Lord said awful. And when asked about dinosaurs, brontosaurs' feet hurt when stepped. God's favorite video game is Donkey Kong. God's favorite car brand is BMW. God's favorite national anthem is Latvia's. God's favorite band is, of course, the Beatles. The Lord said thou shalt not litter, especially in this swamp. Ask corpse about dying. The corpse says, yes, I am dead. I died after struggling with periods of homelessness and incarceration. I stopped taking medication because it limited my creativity. Some people offered me supplies, but I refused them all. At some point, I decided I could kill if asked by God. I learned to purify myself. Ask corpse about words. The corpse says, God talks to you, in Temple OS, with odd sentences. Though words may seem random, they truly have a specific interpretation. Words are important. Ask corpse about io prastu. The corpse says, it's good to be king. Wait, maybe. I think maybe I'm just like a little bizarre little person who walks back and forth. Whatever, you know, but. Go northeast. Shady swamp area. You have entered the darkest part of the swamp. The mud is up to your knees. You hear babbling from the south. A gentle warm breeze blows from the east. Go east. Swamp shore. You are at the edge of the swamp. In the distance to the northeast, a gigantic desert unfolds as far as the eye can see. You can see a tiny spherical stone here. Go northeast. Desert. An arid desert unfolds to the horizon. Wherever you look, there are only dunes. To the east you seem to see a kind of building. The heat causes its contour to wiggle, as if its structure were liquid and changeable. Maybe it's a mirage. Go northeast. Oasis. A few meters away, hidden behind the dunes, you can see an idyllic oasis with palm trees and a crystal clear lagoon. Go east. As you get closer to the oasis, it begins to fade. An arid wind hits your face and neck, and you feel a metallic touch on your skin. Abruptly, you fall to the ground. You try to move, but your body does not respond. You try to breathe and relax and you realize that, much to your regret, your head is detaching from your body. Blood is gushing out of you. Consequently you feel putzingly glad it wasn't for real. It was just a mirage. Although the memory of this false experience will haunt you for years. You have been traumatized. Dunes. You walk among the sands of an endless desert. Go west. Desert. To the east you seem to see a kind of building. The heat causes its contour to wiggle, as if its structure were liquid and changeable. Maybe it's a mirage. Go east. Pyramid. You see a lonely pyramid. Its entrance is north. Go north. Great chamber. Crossing the entrance of the pyramid, you realize that it is empty inside, in the sense that it has no columns, walls or rooms. You are in a large open space with countless white marble slabs covering the floor and walls. In the center, you come across an individual sitting in a rather worn maroon armchair. He is Drizzle, the wizard. Next to the armchair there is a mahoba wood table on which there is an ashtray. You can see an ashtray and Drizzle here. Take ashtray. Drizzle the wizard says, I need this ashtray. Please, leave it on the table. He looks at you sternly. You do as he says. Ask Drizzle about help. Drizzle says, I can help you, but you need to ask me about the correct topics. There was a small animal that started this whole adventure, right? Ask Drizzle about the rat. Drizzle says, the symbol of the rat does not predispose to a good omen. In medieval symbology the mouse is an incarnation of the devil, and in ancient cultures such as the Egyptian and Chinese it was a deity associated with disease, specifically, the plague. The rat also has a sexual connotation, but always cloudy and stale. It should be noted because the wound is the trigger for all this. The wound is the trigger for the dream. If you look at the dream itself, a made-up word. It could form a language, but it could also be a simple manifestation prior to language, a shapeless reality of another nature prior to reason. The interesting thing, the strange addition that is worth examining carefully, is that you have dreamed it in a video game. You don't have a body, because you're an avatar, and you don't have a figure either, because this video game was written more than 40 years ago and is only based on text. Here space is mental, just as sounds and temporality are textual. It is then, in a forgotten code oddity, that you have begun to dream an invented language. Ask Drizzle about artificial world. Drizzle says, what happens when a magical, spiritual and mystical phenomenon like this occurs in the digital regime? What levels and problems are added? Or, what farce or gross imitation is being represented through programming? The final question that should be answered is, then, what would be the relationship between the artificial world of a program and the spiritual world? Or, more simply and fiery, can an artificially created world transmit the intrinsic qualities of spiritual reality, even understanding it, cautiously, as a mere construct of the psyche and culture? What concepts of reality have been taken into account to mimic the spiritual in the codes that appear on the screen? Ask Drizzle about magic. Drizzle says, a pixel is a piece of mimetic information, but it is not the object, whatever an object is. Therefore, in the transfer of the object to the pixel, in the very process of mimesis that the computer undertakes that synthesizes it through a code that conforms it, there is a loss. In simple words, the body remains but the soul is eliminated. Ask Drizzle about dreams. Drizzle says, one of the most difficult and fascinating problems of this cyber century is how to add a certain sense of drifting to the web, so that your eyes wander to places you had not planned to go. Touching the machine brings you back to the original theme. Sometimes we need help to overcome rationality, and let our thoughts wander and metamorphose just like in dreams. Techno-esoteric thinkers are so wrong in their understanding that they do not understand a basic key. As they are now, custom algorithms already work much like the associative combinatorial dream, but they do so with a crude associative level, devoid of symbol, whose only underlying objective is profit. But how to formalize, through a personalized and external algorithm, the personalized symbols that you create yourself only and solely in your own mind? Ask Drizzle about technology. Drizzle says, your dream and its manifestation have been programmed by others. If there is a consensus on the matter of dreams, it undoubtedly lies in two elements. Dreams rework a large part of lived material and, on the other hand, they do so according to a correlational logic closely related to the experimental feeling of the subject. So a narrated dream is always a foreign dream, even though it is fragmented into recognizable mythical structures and can be deciphered. Its meaning, even though it is clear, will seem unrecognizable to us. The word emitted by the code, whether it had a meaning or not, was transferred to you as an obsession, and only then, in you and in the obsession itself, did perhaps acquire a spiritual reality of its own. Which is a sign of the extent to which contemporary technology directly and radically interferes with our experience of the spiritual. Ask Drizzle about Ioprastu. Drizzle nods with deep solemnity. A howl can be heard far outside the pyramid. Something moves in the depths of your being. You don't understand it, but something has changed inside and outside of you. Suddenly you are aware of living simultaneous lives. You are in two places at the same time. Now you can see everything clearly. It is time for you to leave the great chamber. Go south. Drizzle says, are you sure you want to leave the great chamber? Yes. Drizzle says, are you sure you want to go back into the wild? The sun is merciless out there. Yes. Drizzle says, okay. I see you want to wake up. Goodbye, then. You are too alert to sleep any longer.